The termination letter shook in
Please do
Rebecca's
not
hands as
panic,
she stood in her
and
manager's
you will
cramped
be all
office at
right.
Mercy General Hospital.
I got you.
After
Stay
6
calm.
years of perfect service, after working double shifts when others called in sick, after staying late countless times without complaint, she was being fired. And the reason made her want to scream until her voice gave out. "You were 47 minutes late this morning, Rebecca," Mr. Harrison said, not even looking up from his computer screen. "That's the third time this month. Hospital policy is clear. 3 strikes and you're out." "But I was helping someone." Rebecca's voice cracked. "There was an elderly man collapsed on the street. He was bleeding. He couldn't breathe properly. I couldn't just walk past him. That's not my problem." Mr. Harrison finally looked at her, his eyes cold as winter stone. "You have a phone. You could have called 911 and kept walking. Your shift starts at 7 o'clock sharp. Not 7:15, not 7:30, 7 o'clock. You know the rules." "He would have died." Tears streamed down Rebecca's face now. "He was turning blue. The ambulance would have taken too long. I'm a nurse. I took an oath to help people." "An oath that doesn't override hospital employment policies." Mr. Harrison held out a brown envelope. "Your final paycheck is inside. Security will escort you out. Please surrender your badge and any hospital property." Rebecca stared at the envelope like it was a poisonous snake. Inside that envelope was 2 weeks of pay that she desperately needed. Outside this hospital was her 7-year-old daughter, Emily, who needed breakfast and lunch money and new shoes because she'd outgrown her old ones. Outside was rent due in 5 days. Outside was a broken-down car that needed $300 in repairs. Outside was a life that was barely holding together, now completely falling apart. "Please," Rebecca whispered. "Please don't do this. I have a daughter. I'm a single mom. I need this job. I'll never be late again, I promise. I'll come in an hour early every day if you want. Just please don't fire me." Mr. Harrison's expression didn't change. "You should have thought about your daughter before you decided to play hero. Take the envelope, Rebecca. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Rebecca took the envelope with numb fingers. She walked out of the office in a daze. A security guard she'd worked with for 3 years, a man she'd brought homemade cookies to every Christmas, now walked beside her like she was a criminal. He didn't meet her eyes. They passed nurses she'd trained, doctors she'd assisted in hundreds of procedures, patients she'd cared for. All of them stared as she was escorted out like trash being taken to the curb. But none of them knew the real twist. None of them knew that the elderly man she'd saved this morning, the man whose life she'd valued over her job, was actually one of the richest people in the entire state. None of them knew that in his coat pocket was a business card with a name that could have changed everything: William Morrison, CEO of Morrison Industries. And none of them, not even Rebecca herself, could have guessed what William Morrison was planning to do when he found out the woman who saved his life had just lost everything because of him. But before we get to that part of the story, before we see how one act of kindness creates a chain reaction that changes multiple lives forever, we need to go back. Back to 3 weeks ago, when Rebecca's life was difficult but manageable. Back to before the universe decided to test her in the cruelest way possible. 3 weeks ago, Rebecca Turner was tired. Not the normal kind of tired that comes from a long day at work. The deep, bone-crushing kind of tired that comes from being a single mother working 50-hour weeks at a hospital while raising a 7-year-old daughter alone. Every morning started the same way. Wake up at 5 o'clock, make breakfast, pack Emily's lunch, get Emily dressed and ready for school, drop Emily at before care at 6:30, drive across town to Mercy General Hospital, clock in at exactly 7 o'clock, not a minute late, because Mr. Harrison watched the time clock like a hawk circling prey. Then 12 hours of being on her feet, checking vitals, administering medications, comforting scared patients, assisting in procedures, cleaning up messes no one else wanted to deal with, handling emergencies, calming down angry family members. Doing the work of 2 nurses because the hospital was always understaffed. At 7 p.m., if she was lucky and no emergency kept her late, Rebecca would clock out. Race across town to Emily's after-school program. Pick up her daughter who'd been there since 3 o'clock and was always the last kid waiting. Drive home to their small 2-bedroom apartment, make dinner, help Emily with homework, give Emily a bath, read Emily a bedtime story, clean the kitchen, do laundry, pay bills, collapse into bed around midnight, then wake up 5 hours later and do it all again. Rebecca's ex-husband, Josh, hadn't paid child support in 14 months. He'd moved to Arizona with his new girlfriend and changed his phone number. Rebecca's lawyer said they could take him to court, but court cost money Rebecca didn't have. So she just worked harder, picked up extra shifts when she could, sold things she didn't need anymore, cut coupons, bought generic brands, made every dollar stretch as far as possible, but it was never quite enough. There was always another expense. Emily needed new clothes because she was growing like a weed. The car needed repairs. The apartment's hot water heater broke, and the landlord took his sweet time fixing it. Rebecca's own shoes had holes in the soles, but she couldn't afford new ones yet. Still, Rebecca never complained. She'd made a choice to bring Emily into this world, and she was going to give her daughter the best life possible, even if it meant sacrificing everything else. Emily was worth it. Emily, with her bright smile and endless curiosity. Emily, who made straight A's and loved reading and wanted to be a doctor when she grew up. Emily, who still believed in magic and fairy tales and happily ever after. Rebecca was determined to protect that innocence as long as possible, to shield Emily from the harsh reality of how hard their life really was, to make sure Emily felt loved and safe and like anything was possible. That's why Rebecca worked so hard. That's why she never said no to an extra shift. That's why she smiled even when she wanted to cry from exhaustion. For Emily. Always for Emily. 3 weeks ago, on a sunny Tuesday morning, Rebecca's life was hard but stable. She had a job. She had a roof over her head. She had food in the fridge. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Then things started to go wrong. First, her car started making a terrible grinding noise. The mechanic said it was the transmission, and it would cost $800 to fix. Rebecca didn't have $800. She had maybe $300 in her emergency fund, and that was supposed to last until her next paycheck. The mechanic offered to do a temporary patch job for $300, but he warned her it wouldn't last long, maybe a few months at most. Rebecca took the patch job because she had no choice. She needed the car to get to work. Without the car, she couldn't work. Without work, they'd lose everything. Second, Emily came down with a nasty flu. High fever, terrible cough, throwing up everything she ate. Rebecca had to call in sick to work for 2 days to take care of her. Mr. Harrison was not pleased. He reminded Rebecca that she was still in her probationary period for the year, even though she'd worked there for 6 years because she transferred to a different department. One more absence, and she'd face disciplinary action. Rebecca nodded and apologized and promised it wouldn't happen again, even though she had no control over when her child got sick. What else could she do? Third, her landlord announced he was raising the rent by $200 a month. Said property taxes had gone up and he had no choice. Rebecca tried to negotiate, but he was firm. Pay the increase or move out. Moving would cost even more money than Rebecca didn't have. First month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. She was trapped. So Rebecca picked up extra shifts, worked 4 12-hour days instead of her usual 3, then asked for overtime whenever it was available. She was exhausted all the time now. Running on coffee and determination and desperation, Emily noticed. "Mommy, why are you so tired all the time?" she asked one night while Rebecca was helping her with math homework. "I'm fine, sweetheart," Rebecca lied, forcing a smile. "Just been busy at work, but I'm fine." "You don't look fine. You have dark circles under your eyes, like a raccoon." Emily giggled at her own joke. Rebecca laughed too, even though it hurt. "Well, this raccoon loves you more than anything in the whole world. Now let's finish this homework so we can read our story before bed." That's how things were going when the morning happened. The morning that changed everything. Rebecca woke up at 5 o'clock like always, but something was wrong. Her alarm hadn't gone off. She grabbed her phone and her heart stopped. The screen was black, dead. She'd forgotten to charge it overnight. She looked at the clock on the wall. Not 5 o'clock. 6:15. "No, no, 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 no!" Rebecca scrambled out of bed. She'd overslept by over an hour. She was supposed to be at work in 45 minutes, and she still needed to get Emily ready and drop her off and drive across town. She rushed through everything, threw on her scrubs without showering, woke Emily up, made the fastest breakfast ever, just cereal and milk, practically dressed Emily while she was still half asleep. "Mommy, why are we hurrying?" Emily asked, confused. "We overslept, baby. We need to move fast. Can you eat your cereal in the car?" "Okay, Mommy." They ran out to the car. Rebecca buckled Emily in, handed her the bowl of cereal, and drove faster than she probably should have. She dropped Emily at before care at 6:40. If she hit all green lights and traffic was good, she could make it to the hospital by 7. She didn't hit all green lights. Traffic was terrible. A garbage truck was blocking one lane. An accident had shut down another street. Rebecca gripped the steering wheel and tried not to panic. She was going to be late. Mr. Harrison was going to write her up. This would be her second strike this month. She'd been late once before when Emily's school called about a fever. One more strike and she'd be fired. Rebecca's hands were shaking. She couldn't lose this job. She couldn't. They wouldn't survive without it. She was 2 blocks from the hospital when she saw him. An elderly man, maybe in his 70s, collapsed on the sidewalk. He was wearing an expensive-looking coat and suit, but he was on his hands and knees gasping for air. Blood dripped from his nose, his face was gray. People walked past him like he was invisible. Rebecca's nurse instincts kicked in immediately. She pulled over and jumped out of the car, not even thinking about the time. "Sir? Sir, can you hear me?" She knelt beside him. The man looked at her with terrified eyes. He tried to speak but couldn't. He was clutching his chest. Heart attack. Rebecca knew the signs instantly. "I'm a nurse. I'm going to help you." Rebecca pulled out her phone to call 911, then remembered it was dead. "Does anyone have a phone?" she shouted at the people walking past. No one stopped. Everyone was too busy, too focused on their own lives to care about a dying man. "Fine, I'll do it myself." Rebecca checked the man's pulse, weak and irregular. She tilted his head back to open his airway. He was breathing, but barely. She couldn't do CPR yet because his heart hadn't stopped completely, but she could keep him stable until help arrived. "Someone call 911, Rebecca shouted again. "Please, this man is having a heart attack." Finally, a teenage kid stopped. "I'll call," he said, pulling out his phone. "Thank you. Tell them we need an ambulance at the corner of 5th and Main. Patient is a male, approximately 70 years old, showing signs of cardiac arrest. Tell them to hurry." The kid made the call while Rebecca stayed with the man. She held his hand and spoke to him in a calm voice. "You're going to be okay. Help is coming. Stay with me. Keep breathing. That's good. Just like that." The man's eyes locked onto hers. He squeezed her hand weakly. "What's your name?" Rebecca asked, trying to keep him conscious. "William," he whispered. "Okay, William, I'm Rebecca. You're doing great. Just keep breathing. The ambulance will be here soon." It felt like forever, but was probably only 5 minutes. The ambulance arrived with sirens blaring. Paramedics jumped out and took over. They loaded William onto a stretcher and into the ambulance. "You saved his life," one of the paramedics told Rebecca. "Another few minutes and we would have lost him. Good work, nurse." Rebecca nodded, but her mind was already jumping ahead. She looked at her watch. 7:47. She was 47 minutes late to work. She got back in her car and drove the last 2 blocks to the hospital, parked in her usual spot, walked through the employee entrance, clocked in at 7:53, almost an hour late. Mr. Harrison was waiting by the time clock. "My office, now." Rebecca followed him, her heart sinking. She tried to explain about the man on the street, about the heart attack, about not being able to just walk away. Mr. Harrison listened with a blank expression and then handed her the termination letter. And that's how Rebecca Turner lost her job for saving a man's life. She walked out of Mercy General Hospital carrying a brown envelope and the weight of a destroyed future. She got in her car and just sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. How was she going to tell Emily? How was she going to pay rent? How was she going to buy food? How was she going to survive? Rebecca had always believed that doing the right thing mattered, that kindness was its own reward, that the universe took care of good people. But sitting in that parking lot, jobless and hopeless and terrified, Rebecca wondered if she'd been wrong about everything. She finally started the car and drove home, not to pick up Emily, It was only 8:30 in the morning. Emily wouldn't be done with school until 3. Rebecca had 7 hours to figure out what to do next. She went to her apartment and sat on the couch and cried. Big, ugly, gasping sobs that came from somewhere deep inside. She cried for herself, for Emily, for the life they'd been barely managing to keep together that was now falling completely apart. When she finally stopped crying, Rebecca dried her eyes and tried to think practically. She had 2 weeks of pay in the envelope. That would cover rent for this month barely. But next month? Next month they'd be homeless. She needed to find a new job. Fast. Today if possible. Rebecca pulled out her laptop and started searching job sites, nursing positions, any hospital or clinic, any shift. She'd work nights. She'd work weekends. Whatever it took. But most places wanted references from your current employer. How was Rebecca supposed to explain being fired for being late? She applied anyway, sent out 20 applications in 2 hours, customized her resume, wrote cover letters, prayed someone would call her back. Her phone rang at 11 o'clock. Rebecca grabbed it, hoping it was already a response to one of her applications. Hello. Is this Rebecca Turner? A man's voice, formal and professional. Yes, this is she. Ms. Turner, my name is James Chen. I'm calling on behalf of William Morrison. Rebecca's breath caught. William, the man she'd saved this morning. Is he okay? Is he going to be all right? Mr. Morrison is stable thanks to you. The doctors said if you hadn't stopped to help him, he would have died on that sidewalk. James's voice warmed slightly. Mr. Morrison would like to thank you personally. Would you be available to meet with him this afternoon at 3 o'clock? Rebecca thought about Emily. She'd need to pick her up from school at 3. But maybe she could ask the after-school program to keep Emily for an extra hour. This felt important. Yes, I can do 3 o'clock. Where should I meet him? Memorial Hospital, room 412. Mr. Morrison is being kept for observation, but he insisted on seeing you as soon as possible. He wants to properly thank the woman who saved his life. You really don't need to thank me. I just did what anyone would do. That's where you're wrong, Ms. Turner. You did what no one else did. Everyone else walked past Mr. Morrison like he was invisible. You stopped. You cared. That matters. James paused. We'll see you at 3 o'clock. Rebecca hung up and stared at her phone. William Morrison wanted to thank her. That was nice, but thanks didn't pay rent. Thanks didn't buy groceries. Thanks didn't get her job back. Still, she'd go. It would be rude not to. Rebecca called the after-school program and arranged for Emily to stay an extra hour. Then she tried to make herself look presentable. She'd been crying for hours and it showed. She washed her face, put on a little makeup, changed into clean clothes. At 2:30, she drove to Memorial Hospital. She'd never been inside this hospital before. It was newer and fancier than Mercy General. Everything was clean and modern. The lobby had a piano player and a coffee shop. Rebecca found room 412 on the 4th floor. She knocked softly. Come in, a voice called. Rebecca pushed open the door and saw William Morrison sitting up in bed, looking much better than he had this morning. He was hooked up to monitors and IVs, but his color was good and he was smiling. You must be Rebecca, William said, his eyes lighting up. Please come in. Sit down. Rebecca sat in the chair beside his bed. How are you feeling? Better than I have any right to feel, thanks to you. William held out his hand. Rebecca shook it, his grip surprisingly strong. The doctors tell me you saved my life, that I had a major heart attack and you kept me alive until the ambulance arrived. I just did my job. I'm a nurse. Well, I was a nurse. Rebecca's voice caught on those last words. William's expression sharpened. Was? What do you mean? And then, before she could stop herself, Rebecca told him everything. About being late because she stopped to help him. About getting fired. About being a single mom who couldn't afford to lose her job. About the rent and the car and Emily and how everything was falling apart. She didn't mean to dump all of that on a man she just met. A man who was recovering from a heart attack. But once she started talking, she couldn't stop. It all came pouring out. William listened without interrupting. When Rebecca finally finished, he was quiet for a long moment. You lost your job because you saved my life, he finally said. It's not your fault. I knew I was late. I knew the consequences. I just couldn't walk past you. I couldn't leave you there to die. even though it cost you everything. Even though, Rebecca stood up, I should go. I need to pick up my daughter. I'm glad you're okay, Mr. Morrison. I really am. Wait. William held up a hand. Please wait. I need to tell you something. Rebecca sat back down. Do you know who I am? William asked. You said your name is William Morrison? William Morrison III, CEO of Morrison Industries. We own manufacturing plants, real estate, tech companies. Last year, our revenue was over $3 billion. Rebecca's eyes went wide. $3 billion. She couldn't even imagine that much money. The reason I'm telling you this, William continued, is because I want you to understand that I have resources, power, connections, and I want to use those resources to help you, to fix what happened because of me. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Rebecca, you didn't just save my life this morning. You restored my faith in humanity. Do you know how many people walked past me? At least 50, maybe more. I was dying on a public sidewalk in the middle of a busy city, and everyone treated me like I was invisible. Everyone except you. William's voice was thick with emotion. You stopped. You helped. You stayed with me even though it cost you your job. That kind of kindness is rare. That kind of compassion is precious, and I will not let it go unrewarded. I don't want a reward. I just want my job back. Then that's what we'll get you, and more. William pressed the call button for the nurse. When she appeared, he said, Please ask James Chen to come in here. A minute later, a tall Asian man in an expensive suit entered the room. This must be the James who'd called Rebecca earlier. James, this is Rebecca Turner, the woman who saved my life. Rebecca, this is James Chen, my personal assistant and the person who makes my life actually function. James shook Rebecca's hand. It's a pleasure to meet you, Ms. Turner. James, I need you to do something for me. William's voice took on a commanding tone that probably made people jump when he used it in boardrooms. I need you to call the CEO of Mercy General Hospital. What's his name? Richard Blackwood, James said, already pulling out his phone. Call Richard. Tell him I want to have a conversation with him. Today, this afternoon if possible, about his hospital's employment policies and how they treat employees who stop to save lives. Rebecca's heart started pounding. Mr. Morrison, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You lost your job because of me. I'm going to make sure you get it back. And if Richard Blackwood refuses, which he won't because Morrison Industries donates $500,000 to his hospital every year, then I'll personally hire you to work in one of my company's medical clinics at double your current salary. Rebecca couldn't believe what she was hearing. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes. Say you'll let me help you. Say you'll let me turn this wrong into a right. William smiled. Please, Rebecca, it would mean a lot to me. Yes, Rebecca said, tears filling her eyes again. But these were different tears. Happy tears. Hopeful tears. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. James was already on the phone. Mr. Blackwood, this is James Chen, calling on behalf of William Morrison. Mr. Morrison would like to speak with you about an urgent matter. Are you available this afternoon? Excellent. 3:30 at Memorial Hospital, room 412. Thank you. James hung up. He'll be here in 15 minutes. Perfect. William settled back against his pillows. Now we wait. Those 15 minutes felt like 15 hours. Rebecca sat in the hospital room, making small talk with a billionaire who wanted to save her life the way she'd saved his. It was surreal. Right on time, there was a knock on the door. A man in his 50s entered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Rebecca's car. He had silver hair and sharp eyes and the kind of confidence that came from power. William, my God, I heard about your heart attack. Are you all right? Richard Blackwood crossed to the bed with genuine concern on his face. I'm fine, Richard, thanks to this woman. William gestured to Rebecca. This is Rebecca Turner. She's a nurse at your hospital. Or she was, until this morning. Richard's expression shifted slightly, became more guarded. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Rebecca was on her way to work this morning when she found me collapsed on the sidewalk. I was having a massive heart attack. She stopped to help me, stayed with me, kept me alive until the ambulance came. The paramedics said I would have died without her quick thinking. William's voice hardened. But because she stopped to save my life, she was late to work, 47 minutes late, and your hospital manager, a man named Harrison, fired her for it. Richard's face went pale. There must be some misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. Rebecca lost her job because she chose to save a life instead of punching a time clock, because she valued human compassion over hospital policy. And now I'm asking you, Richard, what are you going to do about it? The room went silent. Rebecca held her breath. Richard looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time. Ms. Turner, Richard said slowly, is everything Mr. Morrison said accurate? Yes, sir. And you were fired by Mr. Harrison this morning? Yes, sir. Richard pulled out his phone and made a call. Get me HR, immediately. He waited. This is Richard Blackwood. I need you to pull the termination file for Rebecca Turner. Yes, today. Bring it to Memorial Hospital, room 412 right now, and bring Mr. Harrison with you. Thank you. He hung up and looked at William. I'll fix this, I promise. I know you will, William said, because if you don't, I'll pull every dollar of funding Morrison Industries gives to Mercy General. And I'll make sure every newspaper in the city knows that your hospital fires nurses for saving lives. Richard nodded stiffly. That won't be necessary. This is clearly a mistake that needs to be corrected. 20 minutes later, there was another knock on the door. A woman from HR entered, carrying a file. Behind her was Mr. Harrison, looking confused and annoyed. Mr. Blackwood, you wanted to see me? Mr. Harrison said. Then he saw Rebecca, and his expression shifted to anger. What is she doing here? Mr. Harrison, Richard said in a voice that could have frozen lava. Did you fire Miss Turner this morning? Yes, she was late. 3 strikes policy. It's all by the book. Mr. Harrison crossed his arms defensively. And did Ms. Turner explain why she was late? She said something about helping someone, but that's not an excuse. The policy is clear. The someone she helped was me, William interrupted. William Morrison. I was dying on a sidewalk. Rebecca Turner saved my life, and you fired her for it. Mr. Harrison's face went from defensive to horrified in seconds. I didn't know. I was just following policy. Your policy is garbage, William snapped, and you're an idiot for following it blindly without considering context. Richard, I want this man fired and I want Rebecca's job reinstated, with a formal apology, and back pay for the time she's missed, and a promotion for going above and beyond the call of duty. Richard didn't hesitate. Done. Mr. Harrison, you're terminated, effective immediately. Ms. Turner, you are hereby reinstated to your position with a formal apology from Mercy General Hospital. You'll also receive a promotion to senior nurse and a 20% pay increase. The HR director will handle the paperwork. Mr. Harrison sputtered. You can't fire me. I've been with the hospital for 12 years. And in 12 years, you never learned that compassion matters more than clock watching. You're fired. Security will escort you out. Good day. Richard turned his back on the man, dismissing him completely. Mr. Harrison looked like he wanted to argue more, but the HR director was already leading him out of the room. His protests faded down the hallway. Rebecca sat frozen in her chair. This couldn't be real. She'd been fired this morning. Now she was not only getting her job back, but a promotion and a raise. Ms. Turner, Richard said, I apologize on behalf of Mercy General Hospital. What happened to you today was unconscionable. You exemplify everything we should value in our nursing staff, and you were treated shamefully. I hope you'll accept my apology and continue working with us. Yes, thank you. I don't know what to say. Rebecca's voice shook. Say you'll go pick up your daughter with the good news that everything is going to be okay, William said gently. James will handle all the paperwork details. Rebecca stood on shaky legs. Mr. Morrison, I don't know how to thank you. You already thanked me. You saved my life. I'm just paying it forward. William smiled. Now go be with your daughter. And Rebecca, next time you see someone who needs help, don't hesitate. The world needs more people like you. Rebecca left the hospital room in a daze. As she walked to her car, she kept expecting to wake up. This had to be a dream, but it wasn't. It was real. She'd been fired this morning. Now she had her job back, a promotion, a raise, and a billionaire who considered her a personal hero. Rebecca drove to Emily's school and picked her up at the regular time. Emily climbed into the car chattering about her day, about the art project she'd made, about how her best friend Lucy had shared cookies at lunch. "Mommy, why are you smiling so much?" Emily asked. "Because I had a really good day, sweetheart. A really, really good day." "What happened?" "I helped someone who needed help, and it turned out better than I could have imagined." Rebecca reached over and squeezed Emily's hand. "Everything's going to be okay, baby. Better than okay. Everything's going to be wonderful." And for the first time in months, maybe years, Rebecca actually believed it. That night, after Emily was asleep, Rebecca sat on her couch with a cup of tea and thought about everything that had happened. She'd started the morning being fired. She'd ended it with a promotion. Life was strange, unpredictable, sometimes cruel, but sometimes, it surprised you in the best possible way. Rebecca's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Ms. Turner, this is James Chen. Mr. Morrison would like you to come to his office tomorrow at 10 a.m. He has a proposition for you. Address is 1500 Morrison Plaza. See you then." "A proposition? What kind of proposition?" Rebecca texted back. "I'll be there. Thank you." She had no idea what William Morrison wanted. But after today, after everything that had happened, Rebecca was ready for anything. Tomorrow would bring new surprises, new challenges, new opportunities. But tonight, Rebecca was just grateful. Grateful for her daughter sleeping peacefully in the next room. Grateful for her job that was now better than before. Grateful for a stranger who turned into an angel. She finished her tea and went to bed with a smile on her face. The universe, it seemed, really did take care of good people. Sometimes you just had to be patient enough to see it. But what Rebecca didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that tomorrow's meeting with William Morrison would reveal something that would shake her understanding of everything. Something about William's past that connected to Rebecca's past in a way that seemed impossible. And that revelation would set off a chain of events that would change not just Rebecca's life, but the lives of dozens of people connected to both her and William. Because sometimes saving one life doesn't just affect that person. Sometimes it creates ripples that spread out in ways you never imagined. Tomorrow those ripples would become waves, and Rebecca Turner's life would never be simple again. Rebecca stood in front of Morrison Plaza the next morning, craning her neck to see the top of the gleaming glass tower that seemed to pierce the clouds. 52 floors of steel and ambition, each window reflecting the morning sun like 1,000 diamonds. This was where William Morrison ruled his empire. This was where people made decisions that affected thousands of lives with a single phone call. And somehow, Rebecca Turner, a single mom from a 2-bedroom apartment, was about to walk inside. She smoothed down her best dress, the navy blue one she saved for job interviews and parent-teacher conferences. It suddenly felt shabby compared to the elegant women walking past her in designer suits and heels that cost more than Rebecca's monthly grocery budget. But she lifted her chin and walked through the revolving doors anyway. The lobby took her breath away. Marble floors so polished she could see her reflection. A waterfall cascading down one entire wall. Modern art sculptures that probably had deep meanings Rebecca didn't understand. And people, dozens of people, all moving with purpose and confidence through this temple of wealth. "Rebecca Turner?" A young woman in a crisp white blouse approached with a warm smile. "I'm Ashley, Mr. Morrison's receptionist. Mr. Chen is expecting you. Follow me, please." They took an elevator that moved so smoothly, Rebecca barely felt it. Ashley pressed the button for the 52nd floor. The top floor, of course. "Mr. Morrison talks about you constantly," Ashley said as they rose. "You're all anyone can talk about up here." "The woman who saved the boss's life." "I just did what anyone would do," Rebecca said automatically. "That's what makes it special. Most people wouldn't." The elevator dinged. Here we are. The 52nd floor was even more impressive than the lobby. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the entire city. Rebecca could see for miles in every direction. Somewhere out there was Mercy General Hospital. Somewhere was Emily's school. Somewhere was their little apartment, all of it looking so small from up here. "Rebecca, welcome." James Chen emerged from a hallway, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming. Mr. Morrison is in his office. He's eager to see you. James led her down a corridor lined with photographs. Rebecca noticed they were all of people, not buildings or products. Workers in factories, families, children, communities. These weren't corporate propaganda shots. They were real moments, captured with genuine care. Mr. Morrison believes business should serve people, not the other way around, James said, noticing her looking. Those photos remind him why he does what he does. They reached a set of double doors made of rich, dark wood. James knocked once and opened them. William Morrison's office was enormous but somehow still felt warm. Bookshelves lined two walls, packed with everything from business texts to classic novels. A telescope pointed out one of the massive windows. Comfortable chairs surrounded a coffee table. And behind a large desk that managed to look both expensive and well-used, William Morrison sat working on a laptop. He looked up when they entered, and his face lit up. "Rebecca, come in, please. James, thank you. Can you give us some privacy?" "Of course." James left, closing the doors behind him. "Please sit." William gestured to the chairs by the coffee table. He came around his desk to join her, moving a little slowly. He was recovering well, but a major heart attack takes time to bounce back from. Rebecca sat, her hands folded in her lap. "How are you feeling, Mr. Morrison?" "Call me William, please." "Mr. Morrison makes me feel like my father." He smiled. "And I'm feeling much better thanks to you. The doctors say I have a long recovery ahead, but I'm here. I'm alive. That's because of you. I'm glad you're okay. Rebecca, I asked you here because I want to make you an offer. A job offer." William leaned forward. "I need a medical director for our corporate wellness program. We have over 5,000 employees across our various companies. We want to expand our health services, create on-site clinics, develop wellness initiatives. I need someone to run it, someone with medical expertise, compassion, and the ability to see people as humans, not just workers. I think you're that person." Rebecca's mind spun. "I'm not qualified for something like that. I'm a floor nurse. I don't have management experience or—" "You have something more important. You have heart. You have the instinct to help people even when it costs you everything. That's not something I can teach. The management skills, the administrative knowledge, we can train you on all of that." William pulled out a folder from the coffee table. The position would come with a salary of $150,000 per year. Full benefits for you and Emily. Company car. Education assistance if you want to pursue additional degrees. Rebecca's brain stopped working. $150,000. She currently made $42,000. This was more than 3 times her salary. "I can't possibly be worth that much," she whispered. "You're worth far more," William said firmly. "Rebecca, I've been thinking a lot since the heart attack. About life. About what matters. About legacy. I've spent 40 years building companies and making money. But what does any of it mean if I'm not making people's lives better?" He opened the folder and showed her plans, diagrams, budgets. "I want to create something that actually helps people. Not just my employees, but their families, their communities. And I want you to lead it." "Why me?" "You could hire someone with an MBA and 20 years of experience. Because those people see healthcare as a business. You see it as a calling. There's a difference." William studied her face. "I'm not asking you to decide right now. Take the folder. Read through everything. Think about it. Talk to Emily if you want. But Rebecca, I really hope you'll say yes." Rebecca took the folder with shaking hands. Inside was a detailed job description, an employment contract, benefits information. It was real. This was actually happening. "There's something else," William said, his tone shifting to something more serious. "Something I discovered yesterday that I need to tell you. It's about your ex-husband." Rebecca's stomach dropped. "Josh, what about him? When you told me about your situation, about him not paying child support, I had James do some research. We found him in Arizona, like you said. But Rebecca, he's not broke. He's working as a sales manager, making $90,000 a year. He has a nice house, a new truck, takes vacations. He has money. He's just choosing not to pay you." Anger flooded through Rebecca, hot and sharp. "He told me he lost his job, that he couldn't afford payments. He said—" Her voice cracked. "He said he was barely surviving. He lied, and it gets worse. He's been claiming Emily as a dependent on his taxes, getting the child tax credit, even though he hasn't seen her or supported her in over a year. William's voice was gentle but firm. I took the liberty of contacting a family law attorney. Her name is Patricia Hayes. She's one of the best in the state. She's willing to take your case pro bono, which means free, because I asked her to. She can go after Josh for back child support, force him to pay current support, and make sure he's held accountable for everything he owes Emily. Rebecca couldn't speak. She just stared at William with tears streaming down her face. I hope I didn't overstep, William said. But Emily deserves better. You deserve better. And I have resources that can help make that happen. Please let me help. Why? Rebecca finally managed. Why are you doing all this for me? It's too much. I saved your life. Yes, but this is too much. William was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. 23 years ago, I was in a car accident, a bad one. My wife was driving. We were hit by a drunk driver. She died instantly. I was trapped in the wreckage, bleeding, fading in and out of consciousness. And a stranger stopped. A nurse who was driving home from her shift. She stayed with me, held my hand, kept me alive until the ambulance came. I never got her name, never got to thank her. She disappeared before I could ask. For 23 years, I've wondered who she was, if she knew how much that moment meant, if she understood that she gave me a second chance at life. William wiped his eyes. I can't repay that nurse. I don't know where she is, or even if she's still alive. But I can repay you, Rebecca. I can make sure that your act of kindness doesn't go unrewarded. I can make sure you and Emily have the life you deserve. So please let me do this. Let me honor that nurse's memory by taking care of you. Rebecca was fully crying now. Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the chance. William handed her a tissue. Now take that folder home, read everything. Call me if you have questions. And Rebecca, whatever you decide about the job, I'm still going to help with Josh. Some things are just right, regardless of employment. Rebecca left Morrison Plaza an hour later, with the folder clutched to her chest, her mind reeling. A job offer that would change her life. A lawyer who could finally make Josh pay what he owed. A billionaire who saw her as more than just a good deed. It was too much. It was overwhelming. It was miraculous. She sat in her car for a long time before driving home, just trying to process everything. Finally, she pulled out her phone and called the one person who would understand. Hello, her best friend Diane answered on the second ring. Diane, you're not going to believe what just happened. Rebecca told her everything, about William Morrison, about the job offer, about Josh, about how her entire life had turned upside down in 24 hours. Oh my God, Diane breathed when Rebecca finished. Rebecca, this is insane. This is like winning the lottery. I know, but Diane, I'm scared. What if I take the job and I'm terrible at it? What if I let him down? What if... Stop. Rebecca Turner, listen to me. You have spent 7 years putting everyone else first. Emily first. Your patients first. Random strangers having heart attacks on sidewalks first. You have given and given and given until you had nothing left. And now the universe is giving back. Let it. You deserve this. Emily deserves this. Take the job. Change your life. Be brave enough to accept good fortune when it comes. Rebecca wiped her eyes. You're right. You're always right. I know it's exhausting being this wise. Diane laughed. Now go home. Read that contract. Call that lawyer. And let yourself be happy for once. Rebecca drove home feeling lighter than she had in years. She picked up Emily from school and took her out for ice cream. Because why not? They could afford it now. They were going to be okay. Better than okay. Mommy, why are we getting ice cream on a Wednesday? Emily asked, delighted but confused. Because we're celebrating. Celebrating what? Good things happening to good people. Rebecca smiled. Sometimes the world surprises you, sweetheart. Sometimes it gives you exactly what you need, right when you need it most. That evening, after Emily was in bed, Rebecca spread out all the papers on her kitchen table. The employment contract, the benefits package, the lawyer's contact information. She read every word carefully. The job was real. The salary was real. The benefits were incredible. Health insurance with no deductible, dental, vision, life insurance, retirement contributions, 4 weeks of paid vacation, college assistance for Emily when she was older. It was everything Rebecca had ever dreamed of and never thought she'd have. She picked up her phone and called the number William had given her. "Hello," William answered himself, not an assistant. "It's Rebecca. I read everything. And? Yes, I accept. I'll take the job." She could hear William smile through the phone. "That's wonderful news, absolutely wonderful. James will contact you tomorrow with the onboarding details. You'll need to give Mercy General 2 weeks' notice, or we can negotiate an earlier start if you prefer. Whatever works best for you." 2 weeks is fine. Professional? Rebecca paused. "William, I just want to say thank you again. For everything. For believing in me. For helping with Josh. For changing my life." "You changed my life first, Rebecca. I'm just returning the favor." William's voice was warm. "Get some rest. Tomorrow is the first day of your new future." Rebecca hung up and sat at her kitchen table, staring at the contract with her signature on it. This was real. This was happening. In 2 weeks, she'd be starting a job that paid 3 times what she'd been making. Emily would have everything she needed. They'd be stable, secure, safe. Rebecca allowed herself to feel it. The relief, the joy, the hope. For the first time in 7 years, the weight on her shoulders lifted. Not completely, there would always be challenges, but enough that she could breathe again. She went to Emily's room and watched her daughter sleep, curled up with her stuffed bunny. "Everything's going to be different now, baby," Rebecca whispered. "We're going to be okay, I promise." The next 2 weeks flew by in a blur. Rebecca gave her notice at Mercy General. Her co-workers threw her a surprise party, genuinely happy for her good fortune. Word had spread about her saving William Morrison's life, and suddenly Rebecca was being treated like a hero instead of just another overworked nurse. The lawyer Patricia Hayes moved fast on Josh. She filed paperwork demanding back child support, current support, and reimbursement for all the expenses Rebecca had covered alone. Josh tried to fight it, but Patricia was relentless. Within a week, Josh had a court date and a very worried expression, according to Patricia's reports. He thought he could just disappear and avoid his responsibilities, Patricia told Rebecca over the phone. But the law doesn't work that way. He's going to pay every penny he owes, plus interest. I'll make sure of it. Rebecca felt vindicated in a way she'd never experienced. For once, someone was fighting for her. For once, she wasn't alone. On her last day at Mercy General, Richard Blackwood himself came down to shake her hand. "You're going to do amazing things with Morrison Industries," he said. "But Rebecca, if you ever want to come back, we'd welcome you with open arms. You represent the very best of what nursing should be." "Thank you," Rebecca said, genuinely moved. "I'll miss this place, miss the people. We'll miss you too, but I'm excited to see where this new chapter takes you." Rebecca cleaned out her locker, said goodbye to friends she'd worked beside for 6 years, and walked out of Mercy General for the last time as an employee. It felt strange, bittersweet, but mostly it felt right. Monday morning, Rebecca woke up at 5 o'clock out of habit, then realized she didn't start work until 9. She actually had time. Time to make a real breakfast. Time to help Emily pick out her clothes instead of rushing. Time to drop Emily at school at the normal time instead of early care. "You seem different, Mommy," Emily said as they drove to school. "You seem happy." "I am happy, baby. Things are really looking up for us." "Because of the man you helped? The one who was sick?" "Yes, because of him. He's a very kind man." Rebecca pulled up to Emily's school. "Have a great day, sweetheart. I love you." "I love you too, Mommy." Rebecca watched Emily run into the school building, her backpack bouncing, her hair in neat braids that Rebecca had actually had time to do properly this morning. This was how it should be. This was what normal felt like. She drove to Morrison Plaza and parked in the executive parking area, where she now had an assigned spot with her name on it. Rebecca Turner, Director of Corporate Wellness. Seeing her name on that sign made it feel real. Ashley greeted her warmly in the lobby. "Welcome to your first day. Mr. Chen is waiting to show you to your office. Office. Rebecca had an office. Not a locker, an office. James met her on the 48th floor. Good morning, Rebecca. Ready to start changing lives? As ready as I'll ever be. Her office was on the corner, with windows on two walls providing stunning views of the city. There was a large desk, comfortable chairs, a small conference table, and bookshelves waiting to be filled. On the desk was a nameplate, Rebecca Turner, Director of Corporate Wellness. This is amazing, Rebecca breathed. This is what you earned. James handed her a tablet. Your schedule for today is on here. This morning you'll meet with the department heads who you'll be working with. This afternoon, William wants to have lunch with you to discuss your vision for the wellness program. The rest of the week is onboarding training. Rebecca spent the morning meeting people whose titles intimidated her. Vice President of Operations, Chief Financial Officer, Head of Human Resources. They all treated her with respect, listened to her ideas, offered their support. It was dizzying. Last month, she'd been a floor nurse. Now she was sitting in meetings with executives making six-figure salaries, and they were asking for her input. At noon, James collected her for lunch with William. They went to a private dining room on the 52nd floor that Rebecca hadn't seen before. William was already there, looking stronger than he had a week ago. Rebecca, how's your first day going? It's overwhelming, but good. Everyone's been so welcoming. Excellent. Sit, please. I ordered a variety of dishes since I wasn't sure what you liked. The table was indeed covered with options. Sandwiches, salads, soups, pasta. They filled their plates and talked about Rebecca's vision for the wellness program. She had ideas, lots of them, from her years of seeing what patients needed but couldn't access. On-site clinics where employees could see doctors without taking time off work, mental health counselors, nutritionists, fitness facilities, preventive care programs. William listened intently, occasionally asking questions, clearly impressed by her thoughtfulness. This is exactly what I was hoping for, he said. You're not just thinking about treating illness, you're thinking about preventing it, about creating a culture of health. It's perfect. I just keep thinking about all the people I've seen over the years who let problems get worse because they couldn't afford to see a doctor, or couldn't take time off work, or didn't have anyone who cared enough to help them. Rebecca's voice was passionate. If we can catch things early, treat the whole person, not just symptoms, we can actually change lives. We will change lives. I believe that completely. William set down his fork. Rebecca, there's something else I wanted to talk to you about. Something personal. Rebecca's smile faded. William's tone had shifted to something more serious. I told you about the car accident, about losing my wife, about the nurse who saved me. William took a breath. What I didn't tell you was that we were coming home from the hospital that night. We just found out that my wife, Catherine, was pregnant. We were going to have a baby, our first child. We were so happy, so excited about the future. And then a drunk driver ran a red light and stole all of it in an instant. I'm so sorry, Rebecca said softly. The doctors tried to save the baby. Catherine was about 12 weeks along, but the trauma was too much. I lost them both that night, lost my wife and our child, and the future we'd planned. William's eyes were bright with unshed tears. For years, I threw myself into work, built the company, made money, but it all felt empty. I was just going through the motions, waiting to die so I could be with Catherine again. William, but then last week you saved my life, and something changed. I realized I've been given multiple second chances. The nurse who saved me 23 years ago. You saving me now. Maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. Maybe I'm supposed to do more with this life I keep getting back. Maybe Catherine and our baby would want me to help other people instead of just surviving. William met Rebecca's eyes. What I'm trying to say is thank you, not just for saving my life, but for reminding me why it's worth living. Rebecca reached across the table and squeezed his hand. You're going to do amazing things, William. I can feel it. This wellness program is just the start. You're going to help so many people. We're going to help them. Together. William smiled. Now let's get back to work. We have a lot to do. The rest of Rebecca's first week was intense but exhilarating. She met with architects to design clinic spaces, interviewed potential doctors and nurses to staff them, reviewed budgets and timelines, presented her plans to the board of directors, who approved everything she proposed. By Friday afternoon, Rebecca was exhausted but satisfied. She'd done it, survived her first week, proven she could handle the job. She was packing up her office when her cell phone rang. Patricia Hayes, the lawyer. "Rebecca, I have news about Josh." "Good news or bad news?" "Depends on your perspective." Josh agreed to settle. He's going to pay all the back child support he owes, which comes to about $27,000. He'll pay it in monthly installments over the next year. Plus, he's agreed to pay current child support of $1,200 per month going forward. And he's relinquishing his claim to the child tax credit. "You'll get it from now on." Rebecca sat down hard in her chair. "He agreed to all that?" "He didn't have much choice. I showed him exactly how much trouble he was in. Tax fraud, contempt of court, potentially even criminal charges for deliberately avoiding child support. He saw the writing on the wall." Patricia's voice was satisfied. "You'll start seeing payments next month. I'll monitor to make sure he doesn't default. If he misses even one payment, we'll take him back to court." "Patricia, thank you. Thank you so much." "Thank William. He's the one who asked me to take your case. I'm just doing my job. But Rebecca, I'm glad I could help. You and Emily deserve this." After they hung up, Rebecca sat in her office and let it all sink in. In 1 week, her entire life had transformed. New job, new salary, back child support coming. Everything she'd been struggling with for years suddenly solved. It felt like a fairy tale. Too good to be true. But it was true. It was real. It was happening. Rebecca drove home that evening with a smile on her face. She picked up Emily, who was bubbling with excitement about a science project. They went home to their little apartment, which suddenly didn't feel so small anymore because Rebecca knew they could afford to move to somewhere better when the lease was up. She made dinner, helped Emily with homework, gave her a bath, read her a bedtime story. Their normal routine. But it felt different now. Lighter, happier, full of possibility instead of worry. After Emily was asleep, Rebecca sat on her couch with a cup of tea and finally let herself relax. This was her life now. She'd done it. She climbed out of the hole she'd been drowning in for years, and it had all started with one simple choice: to stop and help someone in need. Her phone buzzed with a text from William. "Great first week. Proud of you. Rest this weekend. Big things ahead." Rebecca smiled and texted back, "Thank you for everything. See you Monday." She finished her tea and went to bed feeling content, feeling blessed, feeling like maybe, just maybe, she was exactly where she was supposed to be. But as Rebecca slept peacefully for the first time in months, across town someone else was wide awake. Someone who'd been watching her, following her, learning everything about her new position and her new connection to William Morrison. Josh Turner sat in his house in Arizona, staring at a letter from Patricia Hayes demanding back child support. His new girlfriend sat next to him, reading over his shoulder. $27,000, she said. "Josh, where are you going to get that kind of money?" "I don't know," Josh muttered. "This is ridiculous. That lawyer is threatening me with criminal charges." "Criminal charges? For what, trying to start a new life?" "You did promise to support Emily," his girlfriend said carefully. "Whose side are you on?" Josh snapped. "I'm just saying, maybe you should pay. Get it over with. Move on." But Josh wasn't listening. He was too focused on the name at the bottom of the letter. Patricia Hayes, representing Rebecca Turner. Referred by William Morrison. William Morrison. The billionaire. Why was a billionaire helping his ex-wife? Josh pulled out his laptop and started searching. It didn't take long to find the news articles. Local nurse saves billionaire's life. William Morrison praises hero nurse. Morrison Industries creates new wellness program. There were photos of Rebecca at some kind of press event, standing next to William Morrison, both of them smiling. Josh's face twisted with anger. "Are you kidding me? She saved some rich guy's life and now she's best friends with a billionaire? She's probably dating him. She moved on that fast?" "Josh, it says here she saved his life. That doesn't mean they're dating." "Yeah, right. Look at them in this picture. Look at how he's looking at her. Josh slammed the laptop shut. This is unbelievable. I'm struggling to pay basic bills and she's living some fairy tale life with a billionaire sugar daddy. You're not struggling? His girlfriend pointed out. You make $90,000 a year. Not the point. Josh stood up and started pacing. The point is, Rebecca is making me look like the bad guy, making me pay all this money while she's probably making bank at her new fancy job. This isn't fair. This isn't right. What are you going to do? Josh's expression was dark. I don't know yet, but Rebecca doesn't get to ride off into the sunset while I'm drowning in debt. No way. I'm going to figure something out. I'm going to make sure she understands that she can't just humiliate me like this. His girlfriend looked worried. Josh, don't do anything stupid. I'm not stupid. I'm just leveling the playing field. Josh picked up his phone. I'm calling my lawyer. If Rebecca wants a fight, I'll give her one. Let's see how her billionaire friend likes dealing with a real custody battle. Custody? Josh, you haven't seen Emily in over a year. You can't suddenly demand custody. Watch me. Josh's smile was cruel. I'm her father. I have rights, and I'm going to exercise every single one of them. Rebecca wants to play hardball? Game on. He walked into another room to make his call, leaving his girlfriend shaking her head. She had a bad feeling about this, a very bad feeling. But there was nothing she could do to stop Josh when he got like this. When he felt slighted or hurt or embarrassed, he lashed out. And right now, he felt all three. Rebecca Turner had just made an enemy who was bitter, angry, and had nothing to lose. And that kind of enemy was the most dangerous kind of all. The envelope arrived on a Monday morning, 3 weeks into Rebecca's new job. She was in her office reviewing plans for the first on-site clinic when Ashley knocked on her door looking worried. Rebecca, this just came for you. Personal delivery. The courier said it was urgent. Ashley handed her a thick manila envelope with confidential stamped across the front in red letters. Rebecca's stomach dropped even before she opened it. Something about that red stamp, about Ashley's concerned expression, told her this wasn't good news. Inside was a legal document, petition for emergency custody modification. The words blurred as Rebecca tried to read them. Josh was suing her for full custody of Emily, not joint custody, not visitation. Full custody, claiming Rebecca was an unfit mother who put her career above her daughter's well-being. No, Rebecca whispered. No, 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 this can't be happening. She forced herself to read the whole thing. Josh claimed that Rebecca's new job required excessive hours that left Emily neglected, that Rebecca was involved in an inappropriate relationship with her employer, that Rebecca had demonstrated poor judgment by getting fired from her previous job, that Emily would be better off living with her father in a stable, two-parent household. Every word was a lie, or a twisted version of the truth designed to make Rebecca look terrible. Yes, she'd been fired, but she'd gotten her job back immediately. Yes, she worked for William Morrison, but there was nothing inappropriate about their relationship. And neglecting Emily? Rebecca had spent 7 years putting Emily first in everything, but Josh knew how to manipulate the truth. He'd always been good at that. Rebecca's hands shook as she pulled out her phone and called Patricia Hayes. Patricia, Josh is suing me for custody. Full custody. He's claiming I'm unfit. I just got the papers. What do I do? Patricia's voice was calm but serious. Forward me everything immediately. I'll review it and call you back within the hour. Rebecca, don't panic. This is likely a pressure tactic. Josh is angry about the child support, and he's lashing out. We'll fight this. But what if he wins? What if they take Emily from me? Rebecca could barely breathe. The thought of losing her daughter was worse than any nightmare. He won't win. I won't let him. Trust me, okay? Send me those documents and I'll handle it. Rebecca hung up and immediately scanned every page, sending them to Patricia. Then she sat at her desk trying not to cry. She couldn't fall apart. Not at work. Not when she was still proving herself in this new position. There was a knock on her door. William stepped in, took one look at her face, and closed the door behind him. What's wrong? Rebecca, you look like you've seen a ghost. My ex-husband is suing me for custody of Emily. Full custody. He's saying I'm an unfit mother. Rebecca's voice cracked. William, he's going to try to take my daughter away from me. William's expression went hard. Let me see the papers. Rebecca handed him the petition. William read through it, his jaw tightening with each page. This is garbage. Every single claim is either false or deliberately misleading. He set down the papers. Rebecca, you have the best family lawyer in the state. Patricia will destroy these arguments. But I want you to know that you have my full support. If you need to take time off for court appearances, take it. If you need character witnesses, I'll testify personally. If you need anything at all, you tell me. Understood? Thank you, Rebecca managed. I'm sorry, I know this is unprofessional, bringing my personal drama into work. Stop. You're not bringing drama. Someone is attacking you and I'm not going to stand by and let it happen. William pulled out his phone. I'm calling my personal attorney. David specializes in family law warfare. He'll work with Patricia to make sure Josh regrets ever filing this petition. William, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Rebecca, you saved my life. You think I'm going to let some deadbeat dad take your daughter just because he's embarrassed about paying child support? Not a chance. William was already dialing. David, it's William Morrison. I need your help with something urgent. Over the next hour, Rebecca's office became a war room. Patricia called back with her initial assessment. David, William's attorney, joined by conference call. They strategized, identified weaknesses in Josh's claims, discussed counter-arguments. The good news is Josh has no grounds, Patricia said. He hasn't seen Emily in over a year. He hasn't paid support. He has zero credibility. The judge is going to see right through this. The bad news, Rebecca asked? The bad news is we have to go through the process. There will be a hearing. Josh's lawyer will try to make you look bad. It's going to be stressful and invasive. But Rebecca, I've seen cases like this 100 times. Absent parents trying to use custody as revenge. They never win. Never. When is the hearing? 2 weeks. Josh filed for an emergency hearing, claiming Emily is in imminent danger, which is ridiculous, but it means we have to respond quickly. 2 weeks. Rebecca had 2 weeks to prepare to fight for her daughter. After the lawyers hung up, William stayed. Are you okay? Stupid question. Of course you're not okay. I just don't understand why he's doing this. He didn't want to be a father when we were together. He left us, moved across the country, and now suddenly he wants custody? Rebecca wiped her eyes. It doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense if you understand that this isn't about Emily. It's about punishing you. You're succeeding. You're happy. You found someone who values you, and Josh can't stand it. William handed her a tissue. Men like Josh don't want their ex-partners to move on. They want them to stay stuck, suffering, proving that leaving was a mistake. When you didn't fall apart without him, when you actually thrived, it hurt his ego. So now he's trying to hurt you back. That's sick. Yes, it is. But it's also predictable, which means we can beat it. William stood. Go home, Rebecca. Pick up Emily. Spend the evening with her. Tomorrow we'll start preparing your defense. But tonight, just be her mom. Don't let Josh's poison ruin one more minute than it has to. Rebecca wanted to argue, to stay and work, to prove she could handle everything. But William was right. Emily needed her. And right now, Rebecca needed Emily more. She packed up and drove to Emily's school, arriving early for pickup. When Emily came running out, Rebecca scooped her up in a huge hug. Mommy, you're squishing me, Emily giggled. Sorry, baby. I just missed you today. Rebecca set her down but kept holding her hand. How about we go get pizza for dinner? Your favorite place? Really? On a Monday? Emily's eyes went wide. They usually only did pizza on Fridays as a treat. Really, because you're special and I love you, and sometimes Monday needs pizza too. They went to Antonio's, the little Italian place that made pizza with hearts drawn in the cheese. Emily chattered about her day while Rebecca tried to focus on her daughter's words instead of the fear clawing at her chest. What if Josh won? What if some judge looked at Rebecca's recent job change and decided she was unstable? What if they believed Josh's lies? No. Rebecca forced those thoughts away. Patricia and David knew what they were doing. William was supporting her. The truth was on her side. Emily would stay with her. She had to. After pizza, they went home, and Rebecca helped Emily with her homework. Then they cuddled on the couch watching Emily's favorite movie. When Emily fell asleep against her shoulder, Rebecca just held her, memorizing the weight of her daughter, the smell of her strawberry shampoo, the sound of her breathing. "I won't let him take you," Rebecca whispered. "I promise, baby. I'll fight with everything I have." The next 2 weeks were a blur of preparation. Patricia came to Rebecca's apartment to interview her, documenting everything about her relationship with Emily, their daily routine, Emily's grades, her friends, her happiness. Patricia took photos of their home, noting the neat, child-friendly space that showed careful parenting. "This is good," Patricia said, taking pictures of Emily's room with its bookshelf full of well-loved books and walls covered in her artwork. "This shows involvement, love, stability, everything Josh claims you don't provide." William gave a deposition as Rebecca's employer, testifying about her professionalism, her dedication, her character. He also provided documentation of her work hours, showing she worked normal hours with plenty of time for parenting. Emily's teacher provided a letter praising Rebecca's involvement in Emily's education. The after-school program director did the same. Even neighbors wrote statements about what a good mother Rebecca was. Meanwhile, Patricia's investigator dug into Josh's claims. It didn't take long to find the cracks. "Josh says he can provide a stable two-parent home," Patricia told Rebecca in a conference call. "But he's not married to his girlfriend. They've only been together 8 months. She has a DUI from 2 years ago. And get this, Josh was fired from his last job for workplace misconduct. Sexual harassment complaint. He found a new job, which is why he has money now, but it happened right around the time he stopped paying child support." He was fired for sexual harassment? Rebecca felt sick. This was the man who wanted custody of their daughter? Yep, the complaint was filed by a female co-worker who said Josh made repeated inappropriate comments and wouldn't take no for an answer. The company settled quietly and Josh moved on, but it's on record. David's investigator found it. "Can we use that in court?" "Absolutely, it speaks to character. Judgment. Fitness as a parent." Patricia's voice was satisfied. "Rebecca, we're building a strong case. Josh walked into this fight with empty hands. We're going to bury him." The night before the hearing, Rebecca couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through everything that could go wrong. What if the judge was having a bad day? What if Josh's lawyer was more convincing than Patricia? What if they asked Emily who she wanted to live with, and somehow Josh had manipulated her? At 2 in the morning, Rebecca got up and made tea. She sat at her kitchen table in the dark, trying to quiet her racing mind. Her phone lit up with a text from William. "Can't sleep either. Nervous for tomorrow. Want to talk?" Rebecca smiled despite everything and called him. "Hey," William answered. "I figured you might be awake." "How did you know?" "Because if someone was trying to take my child, I wouldn't sleep either. Even though I don't have children, I can imagine." William paused. "How are you holding up?" "I'm terrified. I keep thinking about all the ways this could go wrong." "It's not going to go wrong. Josh has nothing. You have everything. The truth, the evidence, the history of being an amazing mother. He's going to walk into that courtroom and get destroyed." "You sound very confident." "That's because I've seen Patricia work. She's a shark. Josh is going to regret this custody stunt by lunch tomorrow." William's voice softened. "Rebecca, Emily loves you. The judge is going to see that. This will be okay. Thank you for everything. I don't know what I would have done without you these past few weeks. You would have done exactly what you're doing now, fighting for your daughter. You're the strongest person I know, Rebecca Turner. Don't forget that." They talked for another hour about nothing important, books they'd read, places they'd traveled, favorite foods, normal conversation that helped Rebecca feel human instead of just a scared mother waiting for a judge's decision. "I should let you get some sleep," William finally said. "Big day tomorrow. Will you be there? At the hearing? Wild horses couldn't keep me away. I'm testifying, remember? And even if I wasn't, I'd be there. You're not alone in this, Rebecca. Not anymore." Rebecca finally fell asleep around 4 in the morning, William's words echoing in her mind. "You're not alone. Not anymore." The courthouse was cold and intimidating, all marble and authority. Rebecca wore her best suit, the one she'd bought for interviews. Patricia met her at the entrance, looking sharp and confident in a power suit that probably cost more than Rebecca's car. "Ready?" Patricia asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." They walked into the courtroom together. Josh was already there with his lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit. Josh didn't look at Rebecca. He stared straight ahead, his jaw tight. "Good," Rebecca thought. "Be nervous." "You should be." The judge entered and everyone stood. Judge Maria Rodriguez was a stern-looking woman in her 60s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Please be seated. We're here for the matter of Turner versus Turner, emergency custody modification. Mr. Turner, you filed this petition. Your attorney may present your case." Josh's lawyer stood and launched into his argument. He painted a picture of Rebecca as a neglectful mother who got fired from her job, jumped into an inappropriate relationship with a wealthy man, and now worked excessive hours that left Emily alone and unsupervised. Rebecca wanted to scream. Every word was twisted, manipulated, made to sound damning. But Patricia sat calmly, taking notes, occasionally whispering to Rebecca. "He's reaching. The judge sees it." When Josh's lawyer finished, Patricia stood, and Rebecca understood why William had said she was a shark. Patricia methodically destroyed every single claim. She presented evidence of Rebecca's job reinstatement with a promotion, not just getting fired. She showed documentation that Rebecca worked normal 40-hour weeks with flexible scheduling. She played a video deposition from William Morrison himself, where he testified under oath that his relationship with Rebecca was purely professional and that she was one of the most dedicated, ethical people he'd ever met. Then Patricia brought in witnesses. Emily's teacher testified that Rebecca was actively involved in Emily's education, attending every parent-teacher conference, volunteering at school events, and that Emily was a happy, well-adjusted child who clearly felt loved and supported. The after-school program director testified that Rebecca was always on time for pickup, that Emily talked constantly about how much she loved her mom, and that there were zero signs of neglect or emotional distress. Patricia even had a child psychologist who'd interviewed Emily testify that Emily was thriving, showed strong attachment to her mother, and exhibited no signs of the trauma or neglect that Josh's petition claimed. By the time Patricia finished presenting Rebecca's case, Josh looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Then Patricia went for the kill. "Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence regarding Mr. Turner's fitness as a parent and his true motivations for this custody petition." She laid out Josh's history, the 14 months of unpaid child support, the complete absence from Emily's life for over a year, the firing for sexual harassment, the fact that he'd filed this petition within days of being ordered to pay back support. "This is not a father concerned about his daughter's well-being," Patricia said, her voice ringing through the courtroom. "This is a man using his child as a weapon to punish his ex-wife for succeeding without him. Mr. Turner doesn't want custody. He wants revenge, and this court should not enable that kind of manipulation." Josh's lawyer tried to object, tried to spin things, but it was too late. The damage was done. Judge Rodriguez looked at Josh with an expression that could have frozen fire. "Mr. Turner, do you wish to testify on your own behalf?" Josh's lawyer whispered something to him. Josh shook his head. "No, Your Honor." "Very well." Judge Rodriguez reviewed her notes for a long moment. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of pages turning. Finally, she looked up. "I've reviewed all the evidence presented today. I've read the statements and watched the depositions. And I have to say, Mr. Turner, this is one of the most frivolous custody petitions I've seen in my 20 years on the bench." Rebecca's heart soared. Frivolous. The judge thought it was frivolous. "Ms. Turner is clearly a dedicated, loving mother. Her daughter is thriving in her care. There is zero evidence of neglect, abuse, or any condition that would warrant removing a child from her home. Meanwhile, Mr. Turner has been absent from his daughter's life for over a year, failed to provide financial support, and only filed this petition after being ordered to pay back support. The timing is not coincidental." Judge Rodriguez's expression was stern. "Mr. Turner, I'm denying your petition in its entirety. Custody remains with Ms. Turner. Furthermore, I'm ordering you to pay Ms. Turner's legal fees for having to defend against this baseless claim. And I'm warning you that if you file another frivolous petition in my court, I will hold you in contempt. Do you understand? Josh's face was red with humiliation. Yes, Your Honor. Good. Ms. Turner, I apologize that you had to go through this. Your daughter is lucky to have you. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down with a satisfying crack. Rebecca couldn't move. She'd won. Emily was staying with her. It was over. Patricia turned to her with a huge smile. That went even better than I expected. Judge Rodriguez eviscerated him. Thank you, Rebecca managed, tears streaming down her face. Thank you so much. William was waiting outside the courtroom. When he saw Rebecca's face, he swept her into a hug. You won. I won, Rebecca sobbed into his shoulder. She's mine. Emily's staying with me. Of course she is. She was always yours. Josh never stood a chance. They stood there for a long moment, Rebecca crying with relief, William holding her up. Other people moved around them, but neither of them noticed. Finally, Rebecca pulled back and wiped her eyes. I need to pick up Emily. I need to see her. Hold her. Go. Take the rest of the day. Actually, take the rest of the week. Recover from this. William squeezed her shoulder. You did good, Rebecca. You fought for your daughter and you won. Be proud of that. Rebecca drove to Emily's school in a daze. She couldn't stop smiling, couldn't stop feeling the weight lifting off her shoulders. Emily was safe. Josh couldn't take her. It was over. When Emily came running out at the end of the day, Rebecca picked her up and spun her around. Mommy, what's happening? Why are you so happy? Because I love you so much. Because you're the best thing that ever happened to me. Because we're going to be okay, baby. Everything is going to be okay. That night, Rebecca made Emily's favorite dinner, chocolate chip pancakes, even though it was dinner time. Because why not? They were celebrating. Mommy, is this because something good happened? Emily asked, her mouth full of pancake. Yes, sweetheart. Something very good happened. What? Rebecca hesitated. She didn't want to tell Emily about the custody battle. Didn't want her to know her father had tried to take her away. Emily deserved to keep her innocence a little longer. Just grown-up stuff, boring legal things that got resolved. The important part is that you and I are going to be together forever. No one can change that, okay? Okay, Mommy. Emily grinned, showing chocolate chip-stained teeth. Can we have pancakes for dinner every night? Maybe not every night, but more often than before. Deal? Deal. After Emily was in bed, Rebecca sat on her couch and finally let herself process everything. The fear of the past 2 weeks, the terror of almost losing Emily, the relief of winning, the gratitude for everyone who'd helped her. Her phone rang, an unknown number. Rebecca almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Rebecca Turner? A woman's voice, professional but warm. Yes, this is she. My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm a producer for the television show Hometown Heroes. Have you heard of it? No, I don't think so. We're a national show that highlights ordinary people doing extraordinary things. We've been following your story. How you saved William Morrison's life. How you lost your job and got it back. How you've created this amazing wellness program. We'd like to feature you in an episode. Share your story with our viewers. Show how one act of kindness can change everything. Rebecca's mind spun. I don't know. I'm not really comfortable with attention. I understand, but Rebecca, your story is inspiring. Single mother, working hard, stops to help someone even when it costs her everything, and then gets rewarded for her compassion. People need to see that. They need to believe that good things happen to good people. That kindness matters. Can I think about it? Of course. I'll email you information about the show. Take your time deciding. But Rebecca, this could help so many people. Your story could encourage others to stop and help, to choose compassion over convenience. That's worth sharing, don't you think? After they hung up, Rebecca sat thinking. A television show, her story on national TV. It felt overwhelming, invasive. But Jennifer was right. If sharing her story helped even one person choose kindness, wouldn't that be worth it? Rebecca would think about it, but not tonight. Tonight was for celebrating, for being grateful, for holding her daughter close and knowing they were safe. The next morning, Rebecca went back to work feeling lighter than she had in weeks. The custody battle was over. Josh had been defeated. Life could go back to normal. except normal kept changing. Ashley greeted her with an excited smile. Rebecca, there's someone here to see you. She said it's important. About a donation? A donation? To the wellness program? I think so. She's waiting in your office. Rebecca walked to her office and found a woman sitting in one of her chairs. She was maybe 40, professionally dressed, with kind eyes and a nervous smile. Ms. Turner, I'm Laura Peterson. Thank you for seeing me without an appointment. Of course, how can I help you? I wanted to make a donation to your wellness program. A substantial donation. $500,000. Rebecca sat down hard. I'm sorry, did you say 500,000? Yes. My father died of a heart attack last year. He'd been having symptoms for months but couldn't afford to see a doctor. He didn't have insurance. His employer didn't offer benefits. He just kept working, kept pushing through, until one day his heart gave out. Laura's voice was thick with emotion. When I read about your wellness program, about how you want to provide free healthcare to employees and their families, I knew I had to help. My father would still be alive if he'd had access to what you're creating. I don't want other families to go through what mine did. Rebecca felt tears burning her eyes. Laura, I'm so sorry about your father. Me too, but at least his death can mean something. At least it can help others. Laura pulled out a checkbook. I'd like to make the donation in his name, Thomas Peterson, so that every person who gets help from your clinics knows that Tom Peterson's legacy is saving lives. That's beautiful. We'll put his name on the first clinic. Make sure everyone knows about his story. Laura wrote the check and handed it to Rebecca. $500,000, more than Rebecca had expected to raise in an entire year. Thank you, Rebecca said. This is going to change so many lives. Thank you for caring enough to create this program. Thank you for being someone who stops to help. Laura shook Rebecca's hand. The world needs more people like you. After Laura left, Rebecca sat staring at the check. $500,000 from a stranger whose father had died because he couldn't access health care, because the system had failed him. Rebecca was going to make sure the system didn't fail anyone else. Not if she could help it. She called William to tell him about the donation. He answered on the first ring. Rebecca, I was just about to call you. Turn on the news, Channel 7, right now. What? Why? Just do it. Rebecca found a TV in the break room and turned to Channel 7, and her blood ran cold. The news anchor was talking about a scandal involving Morrison Industries, allegations of financial misconduct, questions about William's health and ability to run the company, rumors of an inappropriate relationship between William and a female employee. They were showing photos of Rebecca and William together, at the hospital, at company events, taken out of context to look like more than they were. Sources close to the company say that William Morrison may have compromised his judgment by becoming romantically involved with an employee, the anchor said. Questions are being raised about whether Rebecca Turner was hired for her qualifications or for other reasons. The board of directors has called an emergency meeting to discuss the matter. Rebecca felt like she'd been punched. This couldn't be happening, not now. Not after everything. Her phone rang. William again. Rebecca, I'm so sorry. Someone leaked a false story to the press. I'm handling it. The board meeting is this afternoon. I'm going to shut this down, but I need you to know that none of this is your fault. Someone is trying to hurt both of us, and I'm going to find out who. William, this could destroy your company, your reputation. Maybe I should resign. Make it go away. Absolutely not. You did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong. I'm not letting lies win. William's voice was hard. Trust me, okay? Let me handle this. But Rebecca knew that sometimes, even when you did everything right, even when the truth was on your side, you could still lose everything. And she had a sinking feeling that this was about to get much, much worse. Because someone powerful wanted to destroy them. Someone who didn't care about truth or justice or innocent lives caught in the crossfire. Someone who had just declared war, and Rebecca had no idea who it was or why they wanted her to fall. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 3 o'clock that afternoon. William Morrison sat at the head of the massive conference table on the 52nd floor, surrounded by 12 board members whose expressions ranged from concerned to hostile. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawled beneath them, oblivious to the corporate battle about to unfold. Rebecca had wanted to attend, to defend herself, but William had insisted she stay away. "This will only make it worse," he'd said. "Let me handle the board. You focus on the wellness program. Don't let these lies derail the good work we're doing." But staying away felt like hiding, like admitting guilt when there was none. Rebecca sat in her office trying to work, but every few minutes she checked her phone for updates. The news stations were having a field day. More sources had come forward with allegations. Claims that Rebecca had manipulated William after saving his life. Suggestions that she'd engineered the whole thing to get close to a billionaire. Whispers that the wellness program was just a cover for embezzlement. Every single word was a lie. But lies spread faster than truth, and damage control was always 2 steps behind. Ashley knocked softly and entered with a cup of tea. "You look like you need this." "Thanks." Rebecca took the tea with shaking hands. "Ashley, be honest with me. Do people here think I'm sleeping with William? That I got this job because of something other than my qualifications?" Ashley sat down across from her. "Some people are saying things, but most of us know better. We've seen you work, Rebecca. We've seen your plans, your passion, your expertise. Anyone with eyes can see this isn't some scheme. You're the real deal. But some people believe it. Some people always believe the worst. That says more about them than you." Ashley squeezed Rebecca's hand. "William is fighting for you right now. The board respects him. They'll listen." Rebecca hoped Ashley was right, but hope felt fragile right now, like glass about to shatter. 52 floors above, William stood and addressed the board with controlled fury. "Let me be absolutely clear. There is no romantic relationship between myself and Rebecca Turner. There never has been. She is my employee, a brilliant, dedicated professional who has already exceeded every expectation in the 3 weeks she's been here. These allegations are false, defamatory, and clearly orchestrated to damage both her reputation and mine." "William, we're not questioning your integrity," said Margaret Chen, the board's vice chair and one of William's oldest allies. "But you have to admit the optics are concerning. You hire a woman 3 weeks after she saves your life. You pay her significantly more than comparable positions. You personally intervene in her custody case. It looks like favoritism at minimum, impropriety at worst." "Favoritism?" William's voice was sharp. "Rebecca Turner has a master's degree in nursing and 15 years of experience. She's exactly qualified for this position. Should I have hired someone less qualified just to avoid gossip? And yes, I helped with her custody case because it was the right thing to do. Because a good person was being attacked by a vindictive ex-husband. That's not impropriety. That's decency." "The press doesn't see it that way," said Donald Garrett, a board member who'd never liked William's progressive policies. "They see a billionaire playing savior to an attractive woman. They see special treatment. And frankly, William, after your heart attack, questions about your judgment are inevitable." William's jaw tightened. "My judgment is fine. My health is improving. And I resent the implication that I'm not capable of running this company." "No one's saying that," Margaret interjected quickly. "But William, you have to understand our position. Morrison Industries has been built on integrity and trust. If the public believes you've compromised those values, it affects our stock price, our partnerships, our entire operation. We need to address this decisively. What are you suggesting?" "Place Rebecca Turner on administrative leave pending an independent investigation," Donald said. "Let a third party review the hiring process, the salary determination, everything. If she's as qualified as you claim, the investigation will prove it. But we need to show stakeholders that we take these allegations seriously." "Administrative leave is essentially calling her guilty until proven innocent," William shot back. "I won't do that to her. She's done nothing wrong." "Then you're putting your personal feelings above the good of the company," Donald said, "which only supports the allegations that your judgment is compromised." "Enough!" Margaret raised her hand. "This isn't productive. William, the board needs to discuss this privately. Can you give us the room?" William wanted to argue, but he knew boardroom politics. Sometimes you had to let them talk themselves into the right decision. "Fine, I'll be in my office." He left the conference room and went straight to his office where James was waiting with updates. "The story is spreading," James said, showing William his tablet. It's trending on social media. Business news networks are covering it. Competitors are using it to question our stability. This is becoming a crisis. Who leaked it? Someone had to feed this story to the press, complete with photos and insider details. Who benefits from destroying Rebecca and damaging the company? I've been thinking about that. James pulled up a document. 3 weeks ago, right before you hired Rebecca, we rejected a merger proposal from Garrett Industries. Donald Garrett's company. Exactly. He wanted to acquire our medical clinics division. You said no because you had bigger plans for it. The wellness program. He was furious, said you were making a mistake, that you were letting emotion override business sense. William's eyes narrowed. You think Donald is behind this? I think Donald stands to benefit if you're forced out or if the wellness program is shut down. If the board loses confidence in your leadership, he could push for that merger again, or even push for you to step down as CEO. That's a serious accusation. I know, but boss, the timing is suspicious. Rebecca gets hired. Donald objects during the board meeting. Within a week, this story breaks. Someone had to have access to company information, photos from internal events, details about Rebecca's salary. That's not random gossip. That's planned sabotage from inside the company. William's phone buzzed with a text from Margaret. Board vote is in. Come back to the conference room. William stood and straightened his tie. If Donald is behind this, I'll destroy him. But first, let's see what the board decided. He walked back to the conference room with his head high and his resolve firm. Whatever they'd decided, he wasn't abandoning Rebecca. Not after everything she'd been through. The board members were seated, their expressions serious. Margaret gestured to William's chair. Please sit. William sat and waited. We've discussed the situation extensively, Margaret began, and we've reached a decision. The board believes that Morrison Industries needs to demonstrate its commitment to ethical practices and transparency. Therefore, we're voting to authorize an independent investigation into the hiring and employment of Rebecca Turner. William's heart sank. Margaret. However, she continued, raising her hand, we are not placing Ms. Turner on administrative leave. She will continue in her position with full support while the investigation is conducted. We believe the investigation will vindicate both her qualifications and your decision to hire her. This is about protecting the company's reputation, not punishing an innocent employee. William let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Thank you, that's fair. Furthermore, Margaret said, looking directly at Donald, we're also launching an investigation into how confidential company information was leaked to the press. If someone on this board or in our organization is deliberately sabotaging our initiatives for personal gain, they will be held accountable, fully accountable. Donald's face went pale. Are you accusing me of something, Margaret? I'm saying that leaking proprietary information is a breach of fiduciary duty, and whoever did it will face legal consequences. Margaret's smile was thin. So if anyone here knows anything about how this story reached the media, now would be an excellent time to come forward. Silence filled the room. No one spoke, but William noticed Donald shifting uncomfortably in his chair. Meeting adjourned, Margaret said. William, a word, please. After the other board members filed out, Margaret closed the door and turned to William. I know what you're thinking. You think Donald leaked the story, don't you? Probably, but I can't prove it. Not yet. Margaret sat down. William, you need to be careful. Donald has allies on this board, people who think you're too progressive, too emotional, too willing to put people before profits. If he can make you look incompetent or compromised, he'll try to push you out. Let him try. I built this company. I'm not going anywhere. I believe you. But William, you need to protect yourself. And you need to protect Rebecca. She's a target now. People are watching everything she does, waiting for her to fail. One mistake and they'll use it against both of you. She won't make mistakes. She's too good at what she does. I hope you're right. Because if this investigation finds anything questionable, anything at all, the board won't have a choice. We'll have to let her go. And probably you too. Margaret squeezed his shoulder. Fight smart, William, not just hard. William went back to his office and immediately called Rebecca. How did it go? She asked, her voice tight with anxiety. Mixed news. They're doing an investigation into your hiring, But you're staying on. You're not being suspended or punished. They just want an independent review to shut down the gossip. An investigation. Rebecca sounded defeated. William, maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe I should just quit. Save you and the company from this mess. No, absolutely not. Rebecca, that's exactly what whoever started this wants. They want you gone. They want the wellness program shut down. We're not giving them that victory. William's voice was fierce. You stay. You fight. You prove that you deserve this position, and we find out who leaked this story, and we make them pay. Understood? Okay, Rebecca said quietly. Okay, I'll stay. Good. Now go pick up Emily. Spend the evening with your daughter. Don't look at the news. Don't read social media. Just be with the person who matters most. Tomorrow we start fighting back. After hanging up, William sat at his desk and pulled up security footage from the past month. If Donald was behind the leak, there would be evidence. Emails, phone calls, something. William had built Morrison Industries from the ground up. He'd survived market crashes, hostile takeover attempts, personal tragedy. He wasn't going to let a jealous board member destroy everything now. But as William worked late into the night, he didn't know that the real threat wasn't Donald Garrett. Donald was just a distraction, a small player in a much bigger game. The real threat was about to reveal itself, and it was far more dangerous than any of them imagined. Rebecca picked up Emily from school and tried to act normal, but kids are perceptive. Emily noticed immediately that something was wrong. Mommy, why do you look sad? I'm not sad, baby, just tired, long day at work. Is it because of the TV? Emily asked. Lucy's mom was watching the news at drop-off this morning. They were talking about you and Mr. Morrison. Lucy's mom said bad words and turned it off when she saw me. Rebecca's heart broke. Of course, other parents had seen the news. Of course, Emily's friends' parents were gossiping about it. Sometimes people say things that aren't true, sweetheart. The TV was saying things about me that aren't real. But don't worry about it, okay? Grown-ups will figure it out. Are you in trouble? No, baby. I promise I'm not in trouble. I didn't do anything wrong. But as they drove home, Rebecca wondered if doing nothing wrong was enough. Sometimes in life, perception mattered more than reality. And right now, the perception was that she'd slept her way into a job she didn't deserve. They were pulling into their apartment complex when Rebecca noticed a car parked outside their building, an expensive black sedan with tinted windows. As Rebecca parked, a man got out of the sedan. He was maybe 50, wearing a suit that screamed money and power. His expression was cold, calculating. Rebecca Turner, he called. Rebecca's protective instincts kicked in immediately. She turned to Emily. Baby, go inside, use your key. I'll be right behind you. But Mommy! Now Emily, please. Emily, hearing the serious tone, grabbed her backpack and ran inside the building. Rebecca watched until she was safely through the door, then turned to face the stranger. Who are you? What do you want? My name is Richard Garrett. I'm Donald Garrett's brother. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I wanted to talk to you about a business opportunity. I'm not interested in anything your family has to offer. You should be, because I can make all your problems go away. The news stories, the investigation, the whispers about you and William Morrison, all of it can disappear. Instantly. Rebecca crossed her arms. What's the catch? You resign from Morrison Industries, publicly state that you've decided to pursue other opportunities. No drama, no accusations, just a simple, professional departure. In exchange, my family will ensure the media narrative changes. We'll leak new information that clears your name and William's. You'll be seen as the victim of unfair speculation. Your reputation will be intact. And William can keep running his company. We won't challenge his leadership. Everything goes back to normal. Except the wellness program dies without a director. The wellness program was a bad idea anyway. Expensive, impractical. Morrison Industries should stick to what it does best. Manufacturing and real estate. Not playing doctor. Richard stepped closer. Rebecca, you're a smart woman. You know you're in over your head. This job is too big for you. You don't have the experience or the connections to pull it off. Take the easy out while you can. Get away from me. I'm trying to help you. You're trying to manipulate me. Your brother leaked those stories to the press, didn't he? This whole thing is because Donald wants to take over William's medical division. And now you're here trying to intimidate me into quitting so you can swoop in and get what you want. Rebecca's voice was hard. I'm not quitting. I didn't do anything wrong. And you can tell your brother that his little plan failed. William and I are fighting this. Together. Richard's expression turned ugly. You're making a mistake. My family is very powerful, Miss Turner. We have resources you can't imagine. Connections in media, in government, in places that matter. If you insist on staying, we'll make your life miserable. We'll dig up every mistake you've ever made, every embarrassing moment, every secret you've tried to hide, and we'll make sure the whole world knows about it. I don't have any secrets worth hiding. My life is an open book. Single mom, worked hard, did my best. That's my story. If you want to dig through it looking for dirt, be my guest. You'll be disappointed. Everyone has secrets, Rebecca. Everyone. Richard pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. Even you. Rebecca looked at the screen, and her blood turned to ice. It was a photo of her from 10 years ago. Barely recognizable. She was 26, thin as a rail, with dark circles under her eyes and desperation in her expression. The photo had been taken at a methadone clinic. What is that? Rebecca whispered, even though she knew exactly what it was. That's you 10 years ago, seeking treatment for opioid addiction. Interesting story, isn't it? Promising young nurse gets addicted to painkillers after a car accident. Loses her job. Almost loses her daughter to child services. Has to go through months of treatment to get clean. Richard's smile was cruel. Imagine what the press would do with this information. William Morrison hires drug addict to run medical program. That's quite a headline. Rebecca felt like she couldn't breathe. That was her darkest time, the worst period of her life. She'd been in a car accident when Emily was 2, broke her back in 3 places. The doctors prescribed opioids for the pain, and Rebecca, overwhelmed and exhausted and desperate for relief, had gotten addicted. It had taken months of hell to get clean. Months of fighting to keep Emily. Months of rebuilding her life piece by piece. She'd been sober for 9 years. 9 years of working hard, proving herself, becoming someone Emily could be proud of. And now this man was threatening to destroy all of it. That was a decade ago, Rebecca said, her voice shaking. I've been clean for 9 years. I went through treatment. I rebuilt my life, and that's not who I am anymore. But it's who you were. And in the court of public opinion, past sins are never really forgiven, especially not for someone in your position. How can you run a healthcare program when you're a recovering addict? How can William Morrison claim good judgment when he hired someone with that kind of history? William knows about my past. I told him during the interview process. He didn't care. He saw who I am now, not who I was then. How noble of him. But will his board be so understanding? Will the press? Will the parents at Emily's school when they find out that their children's classmate has a mother who used to be a drug addict? Richard put his phone away. This all goes away, Rebecca, all of it. If you just resign, walk away, save yourself and William the embarrassment. Rebecca wanted to cry, wanted to scream, wanted to curl up and hide from this nightmare. But then she thought about Emily, about the promise she'd made when she got clean, to be the mother Emily deserved, to never give up, to fight for what was right. No, Rebecca said firmly, I'm not resigning. Release that photo if you want. Tell the world about my past. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm proud of surviving it. I'm proud of getting clean and staying clean and building a life for my daughter. If people want to judge me for having struggled and overcome it, that's their problem, not mine. Richard looked surprised. You're serious. Completely serious. I'm not running away from bullies. Not anymore. You want to fight dirty? Fine. But I'm not backing down. William and I are going to build this wellness program. We're going to help people who are struggling the way I struggled. And there's nothing you or your brother can do to stop us. You'll regret this. Maybe. But at least I'll regret it with my integrity intact. Rebecca turned toward her building. Now get off my property before I call the police. Richard got back in his car and drove away. Rebecca stood there shaking until the taillights disappeared, then ran inside to her apartment. Emily was watching TV, oblivious to the bomb that had just been dropped on their lives. Rebecca went to her bedroom and called William with trembling hands. Rebecca, what's wrong? She told him everything. About Richard Garrett's visit, about the threat, about the photo from the methadone clinic, about her past that she'd worked so hard to overcome. They're going to release it, Rebecca said, crying now. They're going to tell everyone I'm a recovering addict. William, I'm so sorry. I should have told you earlier. I should have. Rebecca, stop. Breathe. Listen to me. William's voice was calm and steady. First, I already knew about your addiction history. It was in your background check. I didn't bring it up because it wasn't relevant. You've been clean for 9 years. You went through treatment. You turned your life around. That's not a liability. That's proof of your strength and character. But the board will hear about it from me first, before the Garretts can weaponize it. I'll explain that I knew, that I hired you anyway, because your past makes you more qualified, not less. Someone who's been through addiction understands healthcare struggles in a way other people can't. You can relate to patients who are suffering. That's valuable. What if they fire me anyway? They won't. And if they try, I'll fight it. Rebecca, I told you, I'm not letting you face this alone. William paused. Did Richard threaten you physically? Did he touch you? No, nothing like that. Just threats to release the information. Good, because if he'd touched you, I'd be calling the police right now. As it is, I'm calling my lawyer. Threatening to release someone's private medical information is illegal. The Garretts just handed us ammunition. Rebecca felt a tiny spark of hope. Really? Really? They thought they were cornering you, but they just made a massive mistake. Medical records are protected by privacy laws. If they obtained and released that photo without your consent, they've committed a crime. We can sue them into oblivion. I don't want to sue anyone. I just want this to stop. I know, but sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Trust me, okay? We're going to beat this, together. After hanging up, Rebecca checked on Emily, who was falling asleep on the couch. She carried her daughter to bed, tucked her in, and kissed her forehead. I love you, baby, Rebecca whispered. No matter what happens, no matter what anyone says, I love you. And I'm going to keep fighting for us. Emily murmured something in her sleep and snuggled deeper under the covers. Rebecca watched her for a long moment, memorizing every detail of her daughter's peaceful face. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more attacks, more lies. But Rebecca had survived worse. She'd beaten addiction. She'd escaped an abusive marriage. She'd rebuilt her life from nothing. She could survive this too. The next morning, Rebecca woke to her phone ringing at 6 a.m. It was James Chen. Rebecca, turn on Channel 7, right now. Rebecca grabbed the remote with a sense of dread and turned on the TV. The morning news was on, and there was her face. The photo from the methadone clinic, 10 years old and damning. Breaking news in the Morrison industry scandal, the anchor said. We've learned that Rebecca Turner, the woman at the center of controversy over her hiring as director of corporate wellness, has a history of drug addiction. This photo, obtained by our sources, shows Turner at a methadone clinic 10 years ago, seeking treatment for opioid addiction. Questions are now being raised about whether William Morrison knew about Turner's history when he hired her, and whether she's fit to oversee a healthcare program given her past struggles with substance abuse. Rebecca's vision blurred. They'd done it. The Garretts had released the photo. Her past was now public knowledge. Her phone started ringing. Texts poured in. Reporters, colleagues, people she barely knew, all wanting a statement. Rebecca ignored them all except one call. William. I saw, she said before he could speak. They released it. I know, I'm handling it. I've already sent a statement to all major news outlets. I'm owning this, Rebecca, taking full responsibility, explaining that I knew about your history and hired you anyway because of your qualifications, not in spite of them. But I need your permission to share some personal details about your recovery, to tell your story the right way before they twist it further. Is that okay? Rebecca thought about Emily, about the other kids at school who would see this, about the parents who would judge, about all the people who would reduce her to this one mistake from a decade ago. But then she thought about other people struggling with addiction, people who felt ashamed, people who thought recovery was impossible, people who needed to know that you could fall down and get back up and build a good life. Yes, Rebecca said. Tell them everything. Tell them I got addicted to painkillers after a car accident. Tell them I almost lost my daughter. Tell them I went through hell to get clean. Tell them I've been sober for 9 years. Tell them the truth, all of it. Are you sure? Once this is public, you can't take it back. I'm sure. If my story helps even one person get through recovery, it's worth it. And William, thank you for believing in me, for fighting for me, for not giving up when everyone else would have. I'll never give up on you, Rebecca. Never. Now get dressed. We have a press conference in 2 hours. You and I are going to face this together. Rebecca hung up and went to Emily's room. Her daughter was awake, looking worried. Mommy, Lucy's mom texted Lucy, who texted me. They're saying things about you on TV, bad things about medicine that made you sick. Rebecca sat on Emily's bed and took her daughter's hands. Baby, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago, but I was scared. When you were very little, Mommy got hurt in a car accident. The doctors gave me medicine to help with the pain, but the medicine was very strong, and Mommy got addicted to it. Do you know what addiction means? Emily shook her head. It means Mommy couldn't stop taking the medicine even when it was hurting her. It made Mommy sick, made her do things she wasn't proud of. And for a while, Mommy almost lost you because she was so sick. They were going to take me away? Emily's eyes filled with tears. Almost, but Mommy got help. Went to doctors who helped her stop taking the bad medicine. And Mommy got better, got strong again. And I promised myself that I would never let anything hurt you again. That I would be the best mommy I could be. And I've kept that promise for 9 years. Are you sick now? No, baby, I'm not sick. I haven't taken that medicine in 9 years. I'm healthy and strong. But some people found out about when Mommy was sick a long time ago, and they're trying to make Mommy look bad. They're telling everyone about it on TV. And kids at school might say things. Might be mean, but I need you to know the truth. Mommy made a mistake, but Mommy fixed it, and I'm not ashamed of fighting to get better. Emily thought about this for a long moment. Then she hugged Rebecca tight. I'm proud of you, Mommy, for getting better, for being strong. Rebecca held her daughter and cried. Thank you, baby. That means everything to me. 2 hours later, Rebecca stood next to William Morrison in front of Morrison Plaza, facing a crowd of reporters and cameras. William had arranged the press conference to take control of the narrative before the Garretts could do more damage. William spoke first, his voice strong and clear. Thank you all for coming. I'm here to address the recent allegations regarding Rebecca Turner's employment at Morrison Industries. Yes, I was aware of Ms. Turner's history with opioid addiction when I hired her. Yes, I chose to hire her anyway, and I'd like to explain why. He gestured to Rebecca, who stepped forward with shaking hands. 10 years ago, I was in a severe car accident, Rebecca began, reading from notes William's PR team had helped her prepare. I sustained multiple spinal fractures. My doctor prescribed opioids for pain management. I was 26 years old with a 2-year-old daughter and no support system. I took the medication as prescribed, but I became addicted. Within months, I was taking more than prescribed. I was stealing pills from work. I was lying to everyone around me. I hit rock bottom when Child Protective Services nearly removed my daughter from my care because I'd become so dysfunctional. Rebecca paused, blinking back tears. That was my wake-up call. I entered an intensive outpatient treatment program. I got sober. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I regained custody of my daughter. I went back to school. I became a better nurse, a better mother, a better person. For 9 years, I've been sober. 9 years of showing up, working hard, proving that recovery is possible. Ms. Turner's history of addiction makes her more qualified to lead a wellness program. Not less, William said, stepping forward again. She understands patient struggles on a personal level. She knows what it's like to need help and not know where to find it. She knows how important accessible, compassionate healthcare is. That's exactly the perspective we need. Questions? William pointed to a reporter. Mr. Morrison, aren't you concerned about liability? About having someone with addiction history overseeing healthcare? No, because addiction is a disease, not a moral failing, and recovery is proof of strength, not weakness. Rebecca has been sober for 9 years. That's a better track record than most people have with their New Year's resolutions. Another reporter, Ms. Turner, how do you respond to critics who say you're not qualified for this position? Rebecca took a breath. I have a master's degree in nursing, 15 years of clinical experience, certifications in emergency medicine and healthcare management. I've saved lives. I've comforted dying patients. I've worked in some of the most challenging healthcare environments imaginable. My qualifications speak for themselves. My past addiction doesn't erase any of that. If anything, it adds to it. The questions continued for 20 minutes. Some hostile, some sympathetic, all invasive. But Rebecca answered every single one honestly. She didn't hide, didn't deflect, didn't apologize for being human and struggling and surviving. When the press conference ended, William put a hand on Rebecca's shoulder. You did great, really great. You told your story with dignity and strength. You should be proud. I just want this to be over, Rebecca said quietly. It will be. Give it a few days. The news cycle will move on. And in the meantime, we keep building the wellness program. We keep proving the doubters wrong. But as they walked back into Morrison Plaza, neither of them noticed the black sedan parked across the street, or the camera with a telephoto lens pointed directly at them, or the man in the driver's seat making a phone call. Boss, you were right. Morrison and the girl are closer than they're admitting. The way he touches her, protects her. There's definitely something there. Should I keep following them? A voice on the other end said something. The man smiled. Understood. I'll get you proof, whatever it takes. The man hung up and started his car, following the sedan that was now driving Rebecca back to her apartment. He'd been hired by the Garrett family to find dirt on William and Rebecca. Real dirt, not manufactured scandal. And he was very good at his job. Patient, thorough, willing to wait for the perfect moment to strike. That moment was coming soon, very soon, because while William and Rebecca were busy fighting the public battle, they had no idea about the private war being waged in the shadows. A war that was about to claim its first victim, and that victim would be someone neither of them saw coming, someone who'd been there from the beginning, someone they'd trusted completely. The betrayal, when it came, would hurt worse than any lie the Garretts had spread. Because this time, the enemy wasn't outside their circle. The enemy was within. That evening, Rebecca picked up Emily from school and took her to get ice cream, trying to create normalcy despite the chaos. They sat at their favorite booth at Sweet Dreams Ice Cream Parlor, and Emily chatted about her day, seemingly unbothered by the news coverage. Lucy's mom told Lucy she can still be my friend, Emily said, licking her chocolate cone. Even though you were sick before. Lucy said her uncle was sick like you too, with the same medicine. He got better also. Rebecca smiled through her tears. That's nice, baby. I'm glad Lucy's still your friend. Mommy, are you going to be on TV again? I hope not. I don't like being on TV. I think you were brave, telling everyone about being sick. My teacher said brave means doing something even when you're scared. Your teacher is very smart. They finished their ice cream and drove home. Rebecca helped Emily with homework, made dinner, gave her a bath. Their normal routine. The routine that kept them grounded when everything else was spinning out of control. After Emily was asleep, Rebecca sat on her couch and finally let herself feel everything. The fear, the shame, the anger at the Garretts for weaponizing her past, the gratitude for William standing by her, the exhaustion of fighting battles she never asked for. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You were incredible today. Thank you for sharing your story. You've inspired me to keep fighting. 3 years sober, and sometimes I want to give up. But you reminded me why recovery matters. Thank you. Rebecca stared at the message, tears streaming down her face. This was why she told her story. For messages like this. For people who needed hope. She texted back, 3 years is amazing. Keep going. You're stronger than you know. More messages came in throughout the evening. Strangers sharing their recovery stories. People thanking her for being honest. A few cruel messages too, but Rebecca deleted those without reading fully. At 11 p.m., William called. How are you holding up? Surviving. Emily told me I was brave today. I'm going to hold on to that. You were brave. And Rebecca, the board called an emergency meeting tomorrow. They want to discuss the addiction disclosure. I think they're going to clear you. The public response has been largely positive. People respect honesty. What if they don't clear me? Then I'll resign. I'm not staying with a company that punishes people for overcoming adversity. We'll start our own company, build our own wellness program, the two of us against the world. Rebecca laughed despite everything. You'd really do that? Walk away from Morrison Industries? In a heartbeat. I built it once. I can build it again. But Rebecca, I don't think it'll come to that. Trust me, this is going to work out. You've been saying that a lot lately. Because I believe it, and you should too. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a better day, I promise. Rebecca wanted to believe him, needed to believe him, but she'd learned that promises were fragile things, easily broken by circumstances beyond anyone's control. Still, she fell asleep that night with the smallest spark of hope burning in her chest. Maybe William was right. Maybe they could win this. Maybe honesty and integrity really did matter more than money and manipulation. Maybe. But across town in the Garrett family's private office, Donald and Richard sat watching the press conference replay with expressions of fury. This was supposed to destroy her, Donald said. Instead, she's coming out looking like a hero, a survivor. This is a disaster. We need something bigger, Richard said. Something that can't be spun as noble or brave. Something that proves Morrison's judgment is compromised. Like what? Like proof that they're actually involved romantically. Proof that their relationship is inappropriate. That Morrison is thinking with something other than his brain. Richard pulled up photos on his laptop. Our investigator has been following them. Look at these shots. Morrison touching her shoulder. Standing too close. Looking at her like she's more than an employee. That's not proof, that's speculation. Then we create proof. We manufacture a situation where their true relationship is exposed. Something public. Something undeniable. Donald looked at his brother. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we stop playing defense and start playing offense. We've been reacting to Morrison's moves. It's time to make him react to ours. Richard smiled. And I know exactly how to do it. The next morning, the board meeting started at 9 a.m. Rebecca wasn't invited, but William kept her updated via text throughout. Meeting started. Margaret is presenting the investigator's findings on your hiring. Investigation shows hiring process was by the book. Your qualifications exceeded requirements. Board discussing your addiction history disclosure. Consensus seems positive. Vote happening now. Rebecca sat at her desk, unable to work, just staring at her phone and praying. Finally, at 10:30, William called. You're cleared, completely cleared. The board voted unanimously to continue your employment. They actually praised your transparency and character. Rebecca, you won. It's over. Rebecca burst into tears. Really? It's really over? Really? The investigation is complete. Your job is secure. And Donald Garrett has been censured for leaking confidential information. He'll be removed from the board at the next shareholder meeting. We won, Rebecca. Completely and totally won. I can't believe it. Believe it. Now get back to work. We have a wellness program to build and lives to save. Starting today, no more distractions. Just the work that matters. Rebecca hung up and sat at her desk, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. It was over. The investigation, the scandal, the attacks. All of it was over. She could breathe again, could focus on the work she loved, could prove to everyone that William's faith in her was justified. For the first time since this nightmare started, Rebecca allowed herself to feel truly hopeful. They'd survived the worst. Everything from here would be easier. But Rebecca didn't know that Donald and Richard Garrett weren't finished, that they were planning one final attack. One devastating blow that would come from the last direction William and Rebecca expected. And when it came, it would change everything. Because the Garretts had learned something important from their failures. You can't destroy someone with lies, but you can destroy them with carefully manipulated truth. And the truth they were about to reveal would shatter Rebecca and William's world completely. The betrayal was coming. The trap was set. And neither of them saw it until it was far, far too late. 3 days later, on a beautiful Friday afternoon, Rebecca was in her office finalizing plans for the first wellness clinic when Ashley burst in without knocking, her face pale. "Rebecca, you need to see this. Right now." She turned on the TV on Rebecca's wall. The news anchor looked grim. "We have breaking news regarding William Morrison and Rebecca Turner. Sources have provided evidence that Morrison and Turner have been engaged in an inappropriate romantic relationship. These photos, taken over the past 3 weeks, appear to show the two in intimate situations that go far beyond a professional relationship." The screen filled with photos. William and Rebecca at a restaurant sitting close, walking into his apartment building late at night, his hand on her shoulder during the press conference. All of them taken out of context, edited to look damning. "But wait," the anchor continued, "there's more. We've obtained text messages between Morrison and Turner that appear to confirm the relationship." The screen showed text messages, familiar words that Rebecca recognized, but they'd been altered, edited to remove context and make innocent conversations look romantic. "I can't sleep. Nervous for tomorrow." That was Rebecca's real text from the night before the custody hearing, but the response shown wasn't William's actual reply. It said, "I can't sleep either. Can't stop thinking about you." William had never sent that. Ever. "Oh my God," Rebecca whispered. "They faked it. They faked the texts." But it didn't matter that they were fake. The damage was done. The story was out, and this time no amount of truth-telling would fix it. Because this time, the Garretts had been smart. They'd created evidence that looked real enough that denying it would seem like lying. Rebecca's phone exploded with calls, from board members, from reporters, from colleagues demanding to know if it was true. And somewhere in Morrison Plaza, William Morrison was having the exact same horrific realization. They'd been set up, perfectly and completely set up. And there was no way out. The war had just escalated, and this time someone was going to lose everything.